is the point. Anyway, I got a note here that I want to share with you from a friend. The entire note is typed in the subject line of the email. I've never seen this before. Dear Mr. Limbaugh, a thought exercise. How many voters do you think Trump has lost in 4 years? I'd say hardly any. Really close to metaphysical zero. Now, how many votes has Trump picked up? It would seem to me a ton. Many hesitant conservatives who didn't know what they were getting, but now like what they have seen. We have lots of blacks and Hispanics with their respective record lowest unemployment, and much more. Suburban women he lost with his boorishness, but now wins with the left burning cities down. In swing states in 2016, the polls were dead on Hillary Clinton's numbers. They were under by +5 on Trump. They're further under this go-around. This guy thinks, essentially, that if you go back and look at the last 4 years, how many votes has Trump lost? And hardly any. If you look at the Trump base is as solid as it's ever been. He's 92% of the Republican Party. And of that, the percentage who say that there is nothing that's going to stop them from voting for Trump is 62%. That number for Biden is 46%. Biden A doesn't have a base per se because he doesn't have an agenda that people can glom onto. He doesn't have a list of election items to get behind a vote for. So he's a generic candidate. He's the guy with the D next to his name on the ballot. That's it. That's all Biden offers. And so the number of the people who support by the number they'll do whatever it takes to vote for the guy is 46%. That's low. That is really low compared to the 62% on the Republican side who said there's nothing to stop them from voting for Donald Trump. So you have to assume that Trump has picked up. We know he's picked up some African-American votes just with the 50 cent thing. But we also know that it stood to reason he was going to pick some up because of the great African-American unemployment record that Trump achieved, the great economic advancements for a lot of different minority groups. How many votes are the Democrats winning by burning cities? How many votes are the Democrat Party picking up by defunding the police? If you just look at this in a common sense way, how many votes is the Democrat Party winning, picking up by way of their current behavior? And common sense tells you it can't be very many. Phone number, if you want to join us, is 800-282-2882. Okay, this is the Trafalgar poll. This is the IBD, Investors Business Daily, and TIP poll. And as I say, it is tightening by the day now, folks, and it's beginning to look like 2016. Let me run through. Trafalgar is the group that got it right in 2016 in the battleground states, just to clarify. Today's, and I'm reading from their release, this is from their news story about this. Today's Trump versus Biden poll finds that the race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden has suddenly gotten much tighter. IBD TIP's latest 2020 presidential poll update shows that Republicans are rallying around Trump, that Biden is leaking Democrat support, and the gap among independents has narrowed. Now, may I pause here for a moment? Yes, I may, because it is my broadcast. I want to go back to these poignant questions that I just asked. What has Trump, how many votes has Trump lost in the past 4 years? Not very many. His base is as solid. In fact, if you look at the breakdown, they break down the attendance at every one of Trump's rallies, and it's phenomenal. The people. I ask, who are these people? At every Trump rally, between 16 and 20% of the people attending are Democrats. And still, even in 2020 now, 4 years removed, there are people showing up at Trump rallies who have not voted before. That means that there is even new interest, not holdover from 2016, but new interest in 2020 from people who did not vote in 2016. Now, we think, because we're into this so much, we think that people vote every year. They vote every presidential election. But there's, folks, the number of people that don't, you'd be amazed. That's why all this get out the vote efforts exist. And it is why vote so matters. It's why you hear from both campaigns, get out and vote. The numbers of Americans that don't, even now, amidst all this controversy, would probably surprise you. So you look at how many votes has Trump lost? And I would say hardly any. You might disagree. You might think these had to have lost some, Rush. I mean, for quite a pandemic and economic downturns, and the guy at the top always gets blamed when things are going bad. Yeah, okay. How many votes has Trump picked up? Now, my friend that sent me this note believes many, a ton of votes Trump has probably picked up. He thinks that a lot of hesitant conservatives who didn't know what they were getting voted for Trump 2016 really like it now. This is a group that we never talk about either. The media makes it a point never to talk about this group. The group the media wants to focus on is the people that voted for Trump and regret it and wish they hadn't and are never going to do it again, except that group of people is infinitesimally small. On the other hand, the number of people who either didn't vote or who tepidly voted for Trump in 2016 are they're probably very happy. They like what they have seen these past 4 years. They like what they saw before the pandemic. You would have to assume that lots of blacks and Hispanics, because of the record low unemployment. And the Democrats haven't done anything for them. It's the same old, same old. It's the same complaints. It's the same non-solutions. And now the left is burning down cities, and we're told that suburban women hate Trump. The left is burning down cities. They're destroying private property. And we're told that suburban women hate Trump. Now, how many votes have Democrats gained? You tell me. How many votes do you get when you promise to shut down police departments, defund them? How many votes do you get when you allow your own cities to burn, when you allow looting in your own cities to occur? How many votes do you pick up when you purposely keep your city and state economically shut down? Don't tell me this is the stuff that getting out the vote is made of. Don't tell me that this is how you win an election, by allowing your city to burn, your state to burn, by allowing an economic shutdown in your city or state to continue and with no end in sight. When you start talking about how many votes of Democrats, these are questions the media never asks. They love to ask, how many people that voted for Trump can't stand him now because of us? How many people have we persuaded that Trump is a reprobate? That's what they care about. But they don't dare ask how many people didn't vote for Trump going to. How many people that were lukewarm now really like what they saw and can't wait to vote again. How many votes do the Democrats lost. I mean, the last Democrat, we're talking about Obama. So you got Biden. We didn't really have anybody in that whole field in the Democrat primary, not one of them. Folks, not one of those people ran away with it. Not one of them captured the minds and hearts of the Democrat Party. Biden is a surrogate. He's a generic candidate for the power brokers in the Democrat Party who could not win the nomination. So what are the Democrats doing to gain votes? Nothing. It doesn't stand to reason. So the Democrats' only play here is vote against Trump because of his personality. Well, I don't think this is playing. Today's Trump versus Biden poll, one more time, finds the race between Trump and Biden has suddenly gotten much tighter. IBD TIP latest 2020 presidential poll update shows that Republicans are rallying around Trump. Biden is leaking Democrat support, and the gap among independents is narrowed. The latest poll update shows the Democrat challenger leading Trump by 2.3 points, 48.1 to 45.8, in a four-way presidential race of likely voters. Libertarian candidate Jo Jorgensen has the support of 3%, and the Green Party candidate Howie Hawkins has 0.9%. Now, since the IBD TIP 2020 presidential election tracking poll launched on Monday, October 12th, Biden's support has slipped 3.8 points. He's down from 51.9 to a new low of 48.1. Trump's numbers have gone the other way, rising 2.4 points to his new high water mark of 45.8. Biden's lead peaked at 8.6 points in the October 13 IBD poll. Biden's narrower support reflects Trump's gain, more third-party support, and more voters who are undecided or declined to say who they support. Now, in a head-to-head, forget the four-way, in a head-to-head Trump versus Biden poll, Biden leads by 2.8, 49 to 46.2. But Biden's support has dropped 3.7 points since October 12th. Trump's support is up 3.9 points. Biden's lead among likely independent voters is narrowed again to 45 to 41%. Biden's lead ranged from 6 points to double digits, but now it's at 4%. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is having a much easier time corralling Republicans than Biden is having in nailing down Democrats. Biden leads 90-7 among Democrats. Trump leads 94-4 among Republicans. Still, the latest Trump versus Biden poll continues to highlight what could be a big problem for the president, and that is what they portray here as wayward 2016 Trump voters. Among people who voted for Trump in 2016, 7% say they now support Biden. 89% say they'll back Trump again. Biden does better among Hillary voters. Just 3% say they support Trump. 95% back Biden. In addition to faring better among 2016 Trump and Clinton voters, Biden gets more support than Trump among 2016 third-party voters. But all of this is narrowing. The next paragraph, shades of 2016. In 2016, almost all presidential polls pointed to a Hillary Clinton victory over Donald Trump. The IBD TIP poll was one of only two polls credited with predicting Trump's 2016 surprise showing. TIP, IBD's polling partner, succeeded in picking up on the greater enthusiasm among Republicans for their candidate. Now, the latest IBD TIP poll, Trump versus Biden, has some similarities with the Trump versus Clinton race. Republicans, again, seem much more excited about their candidate. However, Biden's 4-point lead among independents is one important contrast from 2016. Trump carried independents 43 to 42 in 2016, and he still has some ground to make up to pull that off. The bottom line is that it is narrowing exactly like it did in 2016, and the other polls that are showing Biden still with a massive double-digit lead here or a high single-digit lead over there, once again, these polls don't seem to have any backup. And they seem to be following the same course of action as they followed in 2016. And these polls ended up being, as you recall, dramatically wrong. So that's the latest on the TIP IBD polling business. There's a couple other things I want to share with you before the program concludes today.